In the last video, I talked about how to make the present perfect. Now I'm going to talk about when and why we use the present perfect. So I have three examples here. I have eaten breakfast today, and as we saw in the last video, we need two things to make the present perfect. The verb have, or its third person has, and a past participle. In this case, an irregular past participle, eaten. I have eaten breakfast today. In this example, this first example, I'm using the present perfect because the time in which I did this past action has not completed. This action is completed in the past. It's called the present perfect because this verb have is in its present form, but the action is actually in the past. This is like to say, I ate breakfast. I ate breakfast. I have eaten breakfast. What's the difference? Why am I not just using the simple past, ate? It's because of this time right here, today. Today is not finished. So I'm using the present perfect. I have eaten breakfast today. It's possible for me to continue to eat again in this same time, today. If I said something like last week, last year, 2 hours ago, yesterday, all of those times are finished. 2 hours ago, it's over. It's not possible without a time machine to go back 2 hours and eat more. That time is finished. Today is not finished. I have the opportunity, I have the option and the ability to continue to eat more before today finishes. Yesterday is finished. I need to use the past. I ate yesterday. I ate 2 hours ago. I ate 2 years ago. But today is not finished. I can use the present perfect. I have eaten breakfast today. That's one way that we use the present perfect, to talk about a past action that has happened in a time where the time is not finished. Another way we can think about using the present perfect is for actions that we plan to continue in that time that has not finished. I do plan to eat more before today is over. I hope to eat again before today finishes. Okay? We also can use it to talk about a recent action. If I eliminated this part today, and I just said, I have eaten breakfast, I could add a word like already. I have eaten breakfast already. I might use a sentence like this if someone is offering me some breakfast. Maybe one of my friends or someone in my family or one of my students makes breakfast and says, hey, teacher, would you like some of this food? And I could say, oh, I'm full, I'm sorry. I have eaten breakfast already. I'm still full. The consequence of this action is still relevant. It still matters. It is affecting me in the present. I have eaten and I continue to be full. If I simply said, I ate already, maybe that happened 5 hours ago and I'm hungry again. I ate already. That could be any time in the past. But if I say, I have eaten already, using the present perfect, what I am saying to the person is, it's still important and I still feel the effect of this action. Now, another example. She has traveled to Mexico 3 times this year. Again, this is a time that has not finished. Right now we are only in February. We have many more months of this year. And this person has many more possibilities, many more options to travel before the year finishes. So she has traveled to Mexico 3 times this year. Maybe she will not go again. Maybe she's finished. But the time is not finished, so we know we can use the present perfect because there is still the option to repeat this action before the time finishes. If I said last year, I would need to change this to simply, she traveled to Mexico 3 times last year, because that time is finished. Last year is over. This year is continuing. There are more possibilities. And another way we can use present perfect are for activities that we have completed and we plan to continue them again, and we can use this phrase so far. So far is a non-specific phrase. It's not a specific time. And what it tells the listener is, yes, I have completed this activity, and I plan to continue with that activity or repeat it more. And that is a plan that I have. Not only an option, but a plan, my intention. We have made 20 videos so far. This sentence says, we created 20 videos. That action is finished in the past, but we plan to continue to make more. We have the intention to make some more. Another way we could think of this is, imagine that you are cleaning your house and your best friend calls you and says, hey, let's go to the movies. And you say, well, I need to clean my house. Okay, how long until you finish? You could say, well, I have cleaned the bathroom so far. I have cleaned the bathroom so far. This is telling your friend, well, this action is finished, but there's more cleaning to do. You could even add some emphasis here. I have only cleaned the bathroom so far. This is telling your friend, yeah, I really have a lot more to do. This is the only thing I have finished. Okay? I have only cleaned the bathroom so far. And in English, with the present perfect, we can use the word only in the middle of these two verbs. I have only cleaned. We could also use words like already. I have already. Or she has already. I have already eaten breakfast today. There are lots of options of words that we can use in between have and the participle. Well, there are a few examples of how you can use the present perfect. Now I would like to show you my favorite example as a final way that we can use the present perfect. Let's use that sentence of traveling to Mexico. We'll start with she. And what's the next part that we need? The verb have or has. In this case, has to match she. Our third person conjugation there. She has. And let's say traveled. Okay, she has traveled. Now, I'm going to say to Mexico many times. She has traveled to Mexico many times. If you do not have a specific time mentioned, we're thinking this is in her life. I did not put this in the sentence, but it's the idea. She has traveled to Mexico many times in her life, is the assumption, if you don't mention it. She has traveled to Mexico many times. I could ask a question such as, have you eaten sushi? Have you tried tacos? The question there is, any time in your life, have you done this action? Have you eaten sushi sometime in your life? Not last year or last month, but any time. Have you tried tacos sometime in your life? So if you don't mention a specific time and you use the present perfect, that's a way to say this happened sometime and I'm not giving the specific time. She has traveled to Mexico many times. We don't know when. If I give a specific year or time, I would need to decide, okay, it was in the past. I need to just use the past. She traveled to Mexico many times in 2020. Or now, she has traveled to Mexico many times so far this year. But if I add this expression, in her life, and it is actually in the sentence, there's a big difference between using the present perfect and the past. Okay, let's look at that. She has traveled to Mexico many times in her life, or she traveled to Mexico many times in her life. The only difference here is the has traveled or traveled, present perfect or just the past. And what do you think changes about the meaning of these two sentences? As I'm writing this, think about that. She has traveled to Mexico many times in her life. She traveled to Mexico many times in her life. What do you think the difference is of the meaning of those sentences? Let's look at this. So we know there's a difference between the grammar. Present perfect, we have has in our participle. Here, for the past, we just have the simple past tense. Okay? This is just the past. Here's the present perfect. Okay. What's the difference in the meaning? Well, in one of these sentences, she is still alive. Can you guess which one, in which sentence she's still alive? If you guessed this sentence, you're correct, because of this part right here, in her life. As I said, with the present perfect, we're talking about times that are continuing. So, because I used the present perfect and I said in her life, I know this time is continuing. Her life is continuing. It is not finished. But if I use the simple past tense with this expression in her life, well, this tells me that her life is finished. Because the past tense is for times that are finished, okay? So in this sentence, she's not alive anymore. Her life is finished. She traveled many times in her life, but that time is over. Her life is finished. Okay? She's not alive anymore. This time is finished. Her life is over. But in this sentence, she's still alive. She has more opportunities and possibilities to travel again in her life because her life is continuing. She is alive. She is still alive. She has traveled many times in her life. She has traveled to Mexico many times in her life. All right. Well, I hope you enjoy those examples and keep studying.